Can you tell me, like, as a student, what were some of your worries in your mind, or what were some of your initial?
I would say my main worry moving back was that
And IIMs is one of them. Are there other colleges also that you looked into? Can you share things which are both simple and complex in nature? Your friend circle and how you are navigating relationships.
but in India it's very very different. So like when I came here I was honestly so pleasantly surprised by how open and warm and welcoming people were. I'm more outgoing now I think than I used to be, which is definitely good. And that is definitely an aspect that I think I lost when I was living over there. Like you're kind of forced to find out who you are and what you like, and you're very like you're very driven to find yourself. I don't really feel as inspired over here to pursue personal projects or
Uh, when you came back, small things like food or language, did that pose a challenge at all? Or
this is a stereotype, but you do tend to think that if you go to college in India, you'll experience less diversity than if you go to college in the US, but that's completely wrong because
the third aspect I wanted to touch upon slightly was around the bullying, or the social connection between you. How difficult was it?
like he's not really used to that. He's like, people just punch each other and it's okay. He's like, people would not be able to do this over there. I was like, are you serious? He would tell me this incident.
What has been some of the challenges you face? Some of the not good things that you had to go through.
I mean, on more personal levels, not really knowing where to call home. Like the other week, I was looking at Google Maps because I was looking for somewhere to go, and that little home icon, like the blue one, was still in New Jersey. It was like all the way across the world, and I saw that and I started crying that day because I was like,
I think you're very, very brave. So, any message, Bhargavi, you want to give to people who are planning to come to India? Hello, friends. My name is Amit Agarwal, and you are watching NRI Live. As promised, today I bring to you our candid conversation with Bhargavi, an NRI kid who did her education in the US for 10 years and came back to India to attend her college. A very vital aspect of this life is our kids education. कहाँ भेजना है, कैसे भेजना है, क्या इंडिया भेजना है या नहीं. And sometimes we do not know the hard reality of sending a child to India after doing the education abroad. In this podcast, I have tried to do the same. What does transition for a kid looks like, and especially a teenager? Because those are crucial years. What goes deep in their mind? What are their fears and how can they overcome them? What are the challenges they face? How do they navigate day to day? And the bigger picture. We will talk about all these aspects in detail in today's podcast. Please do listen to the podcast till the end because she has a very important message to share. And before we begin, please subscribe to NRI Life. Let's start. Okay. Hey Bhargavi, how are you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I am doing great. First of all, thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule for this conversation on this very important topic. As you know, Bhargavi, a lot of kids across the world come to India for their higher studies. And when they make this journey at this age, especially as a teenager coming as a college, there is a whole lot of different scenarios and challenges that come your way, right? And therefore, hearing your perspective from a student who has taken this journey is very, very critical. So I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us today. Um, so uh, so yeah, once again, welcome.
Yeah, sure. It's no problem, Uncle. I'm really happy to kind of share my experiences and hopefully, may help more people decide if there's something they want to do. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So, Bhargavi, how about we start with understanding a little bit about your journey, your background?
Sure. So I'll start with I was born and raised in Chennai. So I lived in Chennai until I was about 7, 8 years old. And my father's job got shifted. So we moved to New Jersey in 2014, I think. So I've been living in New Jersey for the past 10 years. So yeah, it was quite a long time there. I guess you could say I was raised there. It's like, yeah. So I moved at 7. I lived there for 10 years and then I moved back this year for college. I'm now a student at IIM Indore. I'm in the IPM program and I'll definitely talk about my experiences moving back. But I think most people tend to either they move from India over for higher education over there, or they move completely, born raised in the United States, and they move back to India with their family, not necessarily for higher education, but just they just move back. But this has been a very interesting journey of kind of, um, I guess, like rediscovering parts of myself that I knew at age 7, like rediscovering the things I used to like, rediscovering parts of the city I used to live in, because now my family has shifted back to Chennai as well. So it's been a very interesting journey, and I'm happy to be here and share my experiences.
Amazing. So, if I understood correctly, till 12th you were in the US.
Yes, so I completed high school over there.
Okay. And New Jersey?
Yes, in South Brunswick. Yeah.
Amazing. My son completed his ninth grade in New Jersey High School from Livingston.
Yeah.
So he is doing his 10th in India. So he's kind of feeling, the challenges of navigating through India. So I can completely understand your point. When you found out that you were coming to India for your college, especially, k- just going back a little bit over there, can you tell me, like, as a student, what were some of your worries in your mind, or what were some of your initial thoughts when you discovered this plan?
Absolutely. So I'll actually, this was not my plan at all to come to India for college. This was a very last minute thing for my family. And this is something my parents have wanted to do for a very long time. So they wanted to shift back to India for various reasons. And I was never really opposed to the idea. It was more like I saw myself. I never considered the aspect of the prospect of going to college in India. It was just something that was out of my mind. But this year, I actually decided I wanted to take a gap year after high school to pursue internships and do some other work before going to college. So I committed to university, and I told them I'd be deferring and going next year. And then my parents actually brought up the idea that, hey, why don't you apply to a college in India? And I actually said, like by chance, like in the heat of the moment, I was like, oh, I won't apply unless it's like IIM or something. And I applied and I actually got in. So it was a very like, it was a very spontaneous decision to apply and move back and attend college here.
Okay.
But I would say that it was honestly, even before submitting the application, I was very wary of the changes I would have to go through, because you do hear, I'll touch upon this more later, but you do hear a lot of things about the Indian education system and how different
Yeah.
it is. But until you come here, you don't really understand like the brevity of those, like the really what it means until you
Completely
come here and
understand.
experience it for yourself. Yeah. But I would say my main worry moving back was that in the US, in high school over there, I spent, I would say, 90% of my time, effort, and energy on extracurricular activities. So I was very invested in the things I did outside of school, and it brought me a lot of happiness to do those things. And it was an education system where that was allowed and encouraged. So I was genuinely like, I found a lot of purpose in my extracurricular activities. But coming back to India, I was honestly expecting, like I was preempting the mindset that education would be very catered towards grades and marks and everything like that. So I was a little bit afraid that I would become less ambitious, to be honest, if I came to college here, that I would become contented with, what they were selling to me, that, you'll get a stable job, you'll live a good life. I didn't want to become contented because I was very happy with my mindset over there. And I would say after coming here, I was right to an extent. It is very catered towards grades and marks, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it has forced me to kind of, develop my skills in those areas. So at the end of the day, I'll have the best of both worlds, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, thank you. And thank you for this honesty. And what you're saying does make complete sense in so many regards. See, especially because if you have studied abroad till your high school, the one thing that you then want to certainly do is experience the college. So the next thing I quickly really want to understand is, you knew you were coming to India, and if you were getting the right kind of colleges, and IIMs is one of them. Are there other colleges also that you looked into?
No, sir. I only applied to this college. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Would you be open to tell us a little bit about your college, what course you got, how you got in the process?
Sure. Yeah. So I applied to the IPM program at IIM Indore. It's an integrated program in management. It's a 5-year course. So it combines the undergrad and graduate part, like the MBA and the undergrad of a business degree. And it's a very sort of interdisciplinary program. So there's courses in like in mathematics and humanities. We have philosophy, sociology. It's very it has very wide disciplines in those regards. But yeah, it's essentially a management course, like an extended management course. And the process of applying to it was I had to submit an application packet with an essay and extracurricular details and test scores. And then I had an interview. I had it online since I was taking it from abroad, but usually it tends to be in person. And then, yeah, it was an interview on the application packet. And from India, students generally tend to apply using the IT which is the test for this
Correct.
program. But I applied using the SAT.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the only difference. But yeah, that was the application process.
Okay. What I'm trying to understand is their seat allocation. As you are a US citizen, if I may ask. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So do they have some kind of a foreign national quota or a seat reserved, or are there other people outside India who apply to this program in your college?
Yeah, there are people outside India who apply. I think they have 5 seats for foreign nationals, not foreign nationals, for internationals. Yeah,
International students who
yeah,
apply.
they
Okay,
have five
great.
seats. Yeah,
Great. By the way, congratulations on getting into this. In our time, IIM was only for postgraduate. This, I believe, is a relatively newer program, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it was founded in. I mean, I think it was brought in 2010 or something like that. It is pretty new. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, Bhargavi, now let's talk about your experience with India. So, when you're telling us about your side of story, can you share things which are both simple and complex in nature? So, I'll give an example. Simple things could be navigating traffic, food, language, and complex things could be, as you mentioned, education system itself, your friend circle and how you are navigating relationships or acceptance for person who has born and brought up outside India. So can we look at your side of story from these two angles? One is very regular and one is a little more complex and deeper.
Sure. So I guess I'll start off with one pretty regular thing is that I think actually I don't know if this is regular or complex. I'll just talk about it. But
No worries, no worries. Yeah.
I think socially coming back to India has been a great choice, to be completely honest, because I think people in the US, in general, tend to be a little bit more defensive and guarded in terms of like how they are socially, like a little bit more. So I think in school and in just like social environments, it's a little bit harder to connect with people because they're not as forthcoming. But in India, it's very very different. So like when I came here, I was honestly so pleasantly surprised by how open and warm and welcoming people were, and they continue to like be that way. So it's not like a first impression type of thing. They're very open, very warm, very welcoming. It's a very social culture, which I think genuinely benefits people. Like I think it's genuinely helped me grow because I used to be kind of an introvert. My friends still call me an introvert over here, but I was like, you should. I don't think this is, like this is pretty. I'm more outgoing now, I think, than I used to be, which is definitely good. And that is definitely an aspect that I think I lost when I was living over there. Like as a child, I used to be very loud, very outgoing, very confident. I do think that in the years I lived over there, that did diminish a little bit. So I'm happy to have regained that part of myself more or less when I came back. And then okay, so next, yeah, I think a lot of social culture has to do with sharing. So, like, I mean, even like hanging clothes outside is a very small thing. But I was like surprised when I came here. I was like, okay, everybody hangs their clothes outside to dry. It's pretty cute.
True.
Yeah, yeah, and people tend to share everything from like food to like everything. It's a very open sharing culture, which is it could take you by surprise because everything is shared. But it's, I mean, it's pretty normal now, I guess. So that's something pretty small. But yeah, then coming to the education system, um, I think classes here, even I mean, okay, in general in India, I'll just talk about yeah what I know, but I think even the humanities classes tend to be very rote memorization based sometimes, which is not bad. It's just a lot of information. It's just a different way of learning. So it's not something I'm used to. So it was definitely a very big challenge to get used to the amount of information you have to take in and then ingest and then write on exams. It's a different type of education system. But yeah, so a lot of my classmates here are JEE aspirants. So, there is a very big emphasis towards engineering and sciences in India as a whole. So that's definitely something you need to get used to. So many students tend to be already inclined towards these fields. There's not as much emphasis on the humanities, which is a little bit upsetting to me because that's really what I enjoy. But it's just different. Yeah, so that's the education system. I think if you set your mind to it, you will be fine. You it's just if you're up for the challenge, you will be fine. You'll be able to adapt to the new system of learning, but it is definitely different. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about whether or not to pursue education here for sure. And yeah, again, I do want to reemphasize that socially coming back to India has been a very like big plus. So I think that is something that almost outweighs the cons of the education system a little bit, because you do always you tend to put yourself out there more, and people are a lot more outgoing, and it's great to kind of.
I think the point, Bhargavi, that you are bringing out of uh, s- socially being a positive experience is
Yes.
something very unique in itself. And I'll tell you why. Because, see, most of the times I have seen parents worried about whether India is the right choice, not just for education, but also for social development. And as you rightly said, and I have felt as well in my both kids who are in fourth grade and 10th grade now, both of them were living in a very protected and a shelled kind of environment, if I may, right? But when you are in India, in the last 4 months, 6 months of the schooling that they have been on trips, they have been on the stage, they have done participated in debates, they have done so much around them, which and navigating things on their own, right? Taking rides and so all that does help in the social development, which is a very very critical point that you are raising. And I believe you're saying socially India would be better is in your experience, if I'm not wrong.
I think so. Actually, I'm quite strong in that belief. Yeah.
No, that's a
Um,
wonderful insight.
yeah. But touching more upon, you did say that you did mention that you're more like you get to do all these activities and you become more independent. I would actually say that that is one aspect that I thought was a plus for staying over there, because I think independence is something that's fostered from a very early age. You're kind of forced to find out who you are and what you like, and you're very you're very driven to find yourself in that education system and just in that society. And
Makes sense.
that is something I definitely miss, because I don't really feel as inspired over here to, pursue personal projects or, go out of my way to try something new, which is something I did a lot over there,
Correct.
because people tend to be, they tend to be like happy with, they tend to be very content, and they're like very linear in terms of what they're looking for in terms of their career, or after college what they want. So that's something that I find myself becoming adjusted to, but I don't want to adjust to that. I liked the fact that I was pursuing things I was really passionate about over there. So yeah, the independence and finding yourself and doing more creative things is definitely very emphasized over there. But it's just pros and cons, I guess. Yeah.
No, no, and that also you're right. I think our system inherently, like when I say our, as in the Indian system, for so many
Yeah.
years, has been a very guarded system. You don't think out of the box as many times as you should in your education. Whereas in the US and many other developed nations, the education system per se is more project and self learning based, where you learn and take knowledge out of your own experiences and build your own point of view on topics of importance. So before we go to the negatives, let me also touch upon some small things like uh, when you came back, small things like food or language. Did that pose a challenge at all, or what was your experience around that?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I'll go for food first, I guess. I honestly think that the food here is pretty great. Like, I think it's like maybe I'm just biased, or maybe our mess food is just really good. I don't know, but I think the food here at my college has been pretty great. I know that's definitely not something that's shared by a lot of my friends. Some people like it, some people don't, but overall, it is good. It is good, and one thing I this is a stereotype, but you do tend to think that if you go to college in India, you'll experience less diversity than if you go to college in the US. But that's completely wrong, because um, in the US, there's a lot of ethnic and racial diversity and linguistic diversity. You have all those things, but in India, you have so much cultural diversity. So even like within the country, this is obvious to me now. But when I was coming, I didn't expect this. You have people from so many different states. You have even like the different types of foods you eat, the languages you hear. It's so vast. Like my roommates, one person speaks Telugu, the other person speaks Bengali, the other person speaks Hindi. Even that, like, it's really cool to get to connect with so many different cultures. in
Makes sense.
a close, tight knit community. There's that. I do think the food is good. It's nice to like try out things I would not have tried before, so that's nice. The language barrier is a very like it's something definitely to touch upon. When I came, I was very overwhelmed by how much Hindi was being spoken because I don't understand Hindi at all. So when I came, I literally understood like 5 words of Hindi. Now I can pick up bits and pieces of conversations because my friends talk a lot and there's that, but it is definitely a barrier because if you're in a group project or classes are definitely taught fully in English, so that's not a problem. If you're in a group project and somebody starts speaking in Hindi, you can tell them like, hey, I also need to do this work, so speak in English, please. But if you're in a social situation and people, like a big group starts talking in Hindi, you can't really be like, hey, like, please speak in English because I don't understand. So it's a little bit hard, definitely, in that aspect because you want to join in, but it's not, you don't want to impede upon their conversation or whatever. So, yeah.
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 I completely feel that because language is a very crucial aspect of breaking ice. What do you see like this? First month would have been something else. Now you are 4 months in. This barrier of language, how you have seen yourself navigating through this?
Yeah, I think it's definitely gotten better over the months I've been here. Like I do pick up bits and pieces now, but I honestly like everybody, like my family, my friends have all assured me like trust me. By the end of this program, you'll know Hindi. And I do trust them, but it's not that doesn't mean that it's not a little bit difficult in the day to day, like just like socially. But yeah, I definitely do trust that by the end of this program, I will know Hindi, so that's not a problem. But yeah, I think that this can be seen as an opportunity because you wouldn't necessarily have the time or the interest to learn Hindi and go out of your way to learn Hindi unless you're in this kind of environment. So now that I'm here and I have to learn it, I might as well learn it. It's a pretty good opportunity in that sense. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
The third aspect I wanted to touch upon slightly was around the, I don't know how should I put it, but let's say bullying or the social connection between you. How difficult was it, or how easy was it for someone coming from outside to connect with the people in a college when you are coming, especially as a teenager? Can you shed some light on that?
Sure. I don't know if this can be said by everybody who's moving back to India, but I was honestly very, lucky in that regard. I experienced no bullying, no ragging of that sort whatsoever. It was a very, very welcoming environment. My roommates are awesome. Like my friends are awesome. It was a very welcoming environment. Again, I want to reemphasize that the social aspect of coming back has been very positive. So I have no qualms regarding that. But yeah, honestly, no bullying, no ragging. It's like a strictly no ragging campus, so that's not really something that's been a
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
But I can tell you what my brother has said. He's in seventh grade right now. He's in middle
Perfect.
school.
Please, please.
Yeah, yeah. So he said that there definitely do tend to be like fun types of violence going on in schools a little bit. Like he's not really used to that. He's like people just punch each other and it's okay. He's like people would not be able to do this over there. I was like, are you see? He would tell me these incidents at length. He'd be like, oh, this guy punched him and this guy threw his lunchbox. I was like, oh my god, this is not. It's very different. But again, he's adjusting. He doesn't really have a big problem. He's like, it's just funny. It's fun. I don't think it's like a big like bullying aspect. It's just very physical. It's just
I get it.
like
Yeah.
kids. Yeah,
Kids being
yeah,
kids. Yeah.
yeah,
No, but to your point, a seventh grader experience will be a seventh grader, right? In that regard,
yeah,
as a parent, I would be nervous thinking that there is punching going around. But
yeah.
I can understand. The kids, the way they are in school and in the bus is very different from the way they are in the house.
At
So,
home, yes,
so
yeah.
that's there. I'm sure there is no punching in your college.
No, no, no. Yeah.
Amazing. So now, if you could share what has been some of the challenges you faced, some of the not good things that you had to go through being in India.
Sure. So, I'll just quickly mention the one, two things I've already mentioned. I can think of one more.
Sure.
So, definitely the language barrier is a significant challenge. I don't want to undermine that. It is a significant challenge. And I think if you put yourself to like actually learning the language, it'll help you a lot more. I haven't actually been able to dedicate the time to learning Hindi like that. But, if you know Hindi, it's a big plus in India. Anywhere you go, not just in Madhya Pradesh, but anywhere you go, knowing Hindi is a big plus if you're moving back to India. Then the education system again, it has been a very big challenge because again I recognize that my classmates are all like they're very capable, very smart individuals, and it has been quite tough to keep up because again it's not the same education system. If it was a project based learning system like what I'm used to, and I was surrounded by these individuals, I think that I may have been able to do a lot better than I am right now. So this term has been a lot of like catching up and trying to prioritize a lot of things at once, because it does get overwhelming, to be honest. But it is if you put yourself up to the challenge, I'm sure that you'll take it as it comes, and I'm sure you'll like do great. But it is a challenge. And the third thing I can think of is I mean, on more personal level, it's not really knowing where to call home. Like the other week, I was looking at Google Maps because I was looking for somewhere to go, and that little home icon, like the blue one, was still in New Jersey. It was like all the way across the world, and I saw that and I started crying that day, because I was like, I don't really um my friends from home, like, they keep calling and texting, and it's really really hard to keep up with them, because you're in a completely different, like, the time zone change is so different. And these are not just friends that you've known for like a couple months or a couple years. Like, I've known some of these people for 10 plus years. They're my best friends. And it's really hard to know that in order to fully immerse yourself here, you need to kind of take a step back. In terms of that, it's very very hard knowing that, to be honest, because you can't keep up with everybody, you can't be there for everybody all the time. It's very very hard knowing that. But yeah, I think in the beginning it's a little bit worse, and then as time goes on, you'll get used to it, and you'll try to like keep up. You'll text them, you'll call them as much as you can. But yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I am seeing similar emotions from everyone who takes this transition. Life isn't same. I'm elder to you, so I'm just speaking out my heart to you. uh, Transitions, especially when it is of such a nature that you have to change geographies, right? It is challenging. As adults, adjustment could be easier, but as kids, especially teenage kids, it becomes a big thing. Do really want to say one more thing? I think you're very very brave in terms of keeping one taking this challenge, and you're talking about this with the on this channel, so that people can hear your side, and that's not an easy thing. That's a very brave thing to do. So I am my best wishes
It's
for your
really no problem, uncle. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Okay. So any message, Bhargavi, you want to give to people who are planning to come to India, or return to India from abroad? What should they plan before coming here? Any message that you want to give them?
I think if you see it as an opportunity for growth, like, you'll do best, because at the end of the day, you're not leaving anything behind. You're just kind of keeping it as a separate part of yourself. Like, you still have access to it. You still have access to those people, and you need to tell yourself that nothing is going to change. Like, when you go back to visit them, nothing's going to change. They're still going to be there. So see it as more of expanding your bubble, rather than like moving, like leaving one place behind, going to another. See it as expanding the scope of your world, kind of. So if you see it that way, I think it really does help. Like, I've had to tell myself that a lot when I was like missing people, or there's some aspects of my personality that I think I rediscovered when I came to India, and there's also some aspects of my personality that I think I left behind when I left the US. So it's kind of hard to reconcile those two realizations. But again, like, you're not leaving anything behind necessarily, you're just rediscovering or growing yourself. So I think if you come in with that mindset, you'll do great. Like, no matter, like, despite the language barrier, despite the education system change, I think you'll do great. So, like, I would definitely say consider this if it's something that sounds right to you.
Amazing, amazing. No, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, Bhargavi.
No
Really, I mean,
problem.
kids like you uh, are brave, and they're gonna make a lot of difference in whatever they take up, wherever they take up. So all the very best. I would offline keep sending you my best wishes as you grow in your career, and yeah, I mean all the very best for your career and life. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Sure, sir, no problem. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Friends, kids like Bhargavi are an inspiration to all of us. They are taking tough challenges with an amazing spirit of resilience. It is kids like Bhargavi who are going to lead the future as global citizens. I wish Bhargavi all the very best. Once again, thank you so much for showing so much love to NRI Life. Our mission continues. Very soon, we'll be announcing multiple steps we are taking so that the NRI community can benefit in multiple ways. As I have mentioned, it is not just about return to India. The bigger picture is everything that bothers you, that concerns you in your day to day life. Our goal would be to give you the right picture at each and every step. So please do share this video with your friends. Please like and subscribe to NRI Life. Namaste.